Hi, this is Misha, and as promised, we get to the Sovereign class, the fifth ship designed for Star Trek First Contact. Of course, we have the new hero ship for the USS Enterprise, NCC 1701E. Seen in 3 out of the 4 Next Generation films. That's pretty much it. We did not see these much in the Dominion War. They pretty much were keeping this model for themselves for the movies. And no question about it, I like the Sovereign more than the Galaxy. I've got the Eagle Moss XL model here. You saw this in my original Sector 001 video. The Eagle Moss normal size or small Sovereign is pretty good for what it is. But because this is such a long and detailed ship, I really think that this is one of those times when the XL is warranted. In fact, this was one of the first XLs that really interested me in getting into those ships. The Sovereign class itself has an interesting history and universe. In a way, the Sovereign project can be said to date back to 2338, at a time when the Federation and Klingons were having tensions. And the idea was maybe we should make a warship. Now keep in mind, the Ambassador class was kind of the best ship, the ship of the line at the time, and it already was pretty combat worthy, at least more so than some previous vessels. But the idea was maybe we should try to make the most modern advanced combat ship. But that Enterprise C there sacrificed itself, as we know, defending a Klingon colony, and tensions lessened, and the Klingon threat disappeared, and the Federation kind of went back to a very peaceful exploration. So in the 2340s, the Sovereign program was kind of put on the back burner and just became an engineering concept. It was just kept in the background. What they would do is they would revisit it every few years, integrating theoretical or very new cutting-edge technologies into the computer model. 2350s, we have the Cardassian Wars, but truth be told, these weren't major, at least a threat to the very Federation. So the Sovereign kind of rested. Then in 2364, the Romulans reemerged, which kind of brought a legitimate, credible threat back to the Alpha Quadrant. And then, of course, a year later, the Borg were encountered, and so the Sovereign class was, again, thought of as maybe a good idea. So the last major hull revision was from around 2365, and quickly they were working on new technologies for it, but the Battle of Wolf 359 happened, yada yada. Some of the new tech was tested on the Defiant class, like quantum torpedoes and a blade of armor. Other things were like the bio-neuro computer systems, which we see on the Intrepid. Anyway, the Sovereign was pretty quickly put into production considering how advanced it was, and the original ship, USS Sovereign, was launched in 2370 or 2371, depending on where you look. The next ship to launch was the Enterprise E here, launched in 2372, after the destruction of the Enterprise D, and this was the most advanced ship in the fleet. It is classified as a heavy cruiser, explorer, but in reality it's more of a battleship or warship, but it does have facilities for true science and exploration. It's not like some of the other ships we've seen where it doesn't. It features a quantum torpedo launcher, which is a powerful torpedo, which is turreted. It can fire at an arc. It also has 4 standard photon launchers. It's got phasers, of course. It's got self-modulating shielding designed to help combat the Borg. It's got a blade of armor, as I said. We've got modern warp engines, top speed of about 9.975, so about like Voyager. Max cruise of 9 with a routine cruise of about warp 8, so pretty darn fast. Rapid impulse. We've got a major shuttle bay on the saucer in the back. It can house larger craft like runabouts. And then we have a secondary bay on the engineering hull for more standard craft. We have 2 computer cores, a primary in the saucer and a secondary in the engineering hull. And as we know, we have a Captain Jot, the Callisto. Causto, sorry. Most importantly, we have a toilet in the captain's ready room. I was kind of wondered if Picard just kind of held it throughout Next Generation. Maybe he has like an iron bladder, I don't know. But yeah, now he's getting older, he's an old man bladder probably. Plus he drinks a lot of tea, so I can see that as being a special request. Maybe in Next Generation he just pissed into the fish tank. What do you think? Was Livingston actually living on Picard's special urine? Probably had a heavy content of wine. Okay, I'll stop now. This did well in First Contact. It defeated the Borg cube, went back in time, yada yada. Even though it was a relatively new ship, it proved itself. It was refit for the Dominion War. It was given at least 1 more quantum torpedo launcher, as well as 3 or 4 more photon launchers, especially kind of looking in the rear, kind of giving it more rear firepower. The shields were improved, 20-25% stronger, more effective. The engines were upgraded. Some sources say the max warp was tweaked to about 9.98 to 9.99. And the photon torpedo capacity was upped from 300, which is a little light, to 350, which is still kind of light, which is why they would run out of torpedoes in Nemesis. Plus you have that and a number of quantums. I don't know how many are on board, probably not as many because they're bigger, but I don't know, maybe 50. This would make it through the battle in Nemesis, but be very severely damaged. Ramming a ship will do that, but we know it's obviously pretty strong if it survived ramming. And so in 2379 at the end, we see it in dry dock being overhauled. We can assume that it was further upgraded and improved. And we know that the Sovereign class with the Enterprise at the helm would continue to be pretty much the premier vessel through the rest of the century, and wouldn't be replaced until the 25th century with the Odyssey class. So this would remain a premier ship for a good 30-40 years. These were relatively expensive to produce because of all the complicated hardware and the advanced systems, although thanks to the Sovereign project or program, they were relatively quick to get into production. They would make a number of these, but they would never mass produce them like other ships, the Akira, Steamrunner, Sabre, even Norway. While this was a warship, the Sovereign was used as kind of a diplomatic craft and was used to do as much exploring as was practically possible during the Borg incursion and Dominion Wars and Romulan troubles and all that jazz. I think they sent these kind of out on their own because they were capable of handling themselves, where other ships maybe had to be sent in fleets. So you could spare one sovereign ship, even if it was the most powerful, but it could take care of itself, whereas if you sent, say, an Akira or a Nebula, it might get into trouble and need reinforcements. So better to spare one powerful ship than maybe 6 or 7 medium ships. Hey, it works for me in my head. Why not? These were used for diplomacy, as I said, some exploration, some science, and also to put out more localized brush fires, like the whole Sona thing and, you know, little uprisings. Usually when there's warfare, smaller powers try to take the initiative and maybe, you know, get something for themselves. So yeah, there you go, the Sovereign class in nerdy history. As far as the Eagle Moss models, like I said, the standard one is very impressive detail for the small as it is. The metal is the saucer, and then the back part would be your polymer, but it's very long and therefore kind of slim. This XL is very heavy. We've got metal saucer, metal engineering hull, with really only the plastic being the engines, the nacelles, and the pylons, and of course the inserts here and there. But it's got a lot of metal to it. It's actually quite a heavy thing. That's why I'm not just picking it up and flipping it over like I normally do. Yeah, it's got some weight. It feels like a real die-cast model. And I also like it because it scales pretty nicely with the rest of the First Contact fleet, especially like the Akira in Norway. Akira here and Norway here. The Saber looks a little big, but of course it's big compared to the rest based on, you know, just what it is. But I kind of like it. This makes a neat fleet all together. So there we go, guys. Hope this was a good revisit to kind of make up for my first video, which wasn't spectacular. Camera work, of course, is something I'll never be awesome at, but I've done at least my best for you with lighting and such. If you'd like to discuss in the comments anything, please do so. Always welcome. And if you could, like, share, subscribe, and check out some of the other videos. This is Misha, and I will catch you very soon next time.